that on, you might be able to hear me.
I can hear you.
And if you spend a little time learning that, because we've got time until it warms up, basically that's the sensitivity of your microphone. So if you just spend some time going, Mary had a little lamb, Mary had a little lamb, Mary had a little lamb, that will switch on or off and you'll hear it, and it's a good way of getting to know that. Because, so, for example, I've just turned it here. I can't hear you.
I can hear you now.
That's it, yeah. And it's the same when you're talking. Just say Mary had a little lamb for a while.
Mary had a little lamb. 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 Mary had a little lamb.
And all the time I can hear you, you can hear you, then it's working.
You can hear me now.
But when you turn it right round, at the same loudness, can't hear yourself in your ears, okay?
Mary had a little lamb.
That's the point. And of course that changes the more noise I make from the engine.
Okay.
Right. What else do I need to do after starting? After starting, I need to switch it to the right tank. I need to get this ready to record our exploits. I've got a chart. It basically shows the airspace and where we are, and you can recognise stuff. So I'm not going to go anywhere near Weymouth because I have to speak to them and all of that sort of stuff. And we are here, that's it. And so the notable towns are Blandford Forum, and there's some badges up there, and I don't know where I'm going yet, but it's there. It's quite nice to have that on your lap and out of the way, really, just in case we want it. I've got the GPS as well, but it's quite nice to have, and it's, you know, in extremis, you want to be able to reach it. So we can't taxi until we've got 30 on it. After start, so the RPM has gone to 12, the oil pressure is good, starter light went out, the alternator was on, magnetos. So you can see that it's got left and right and off, and both. We're using both sets of spark plugs. We're now using only one set of spark plugs. Now using the other set of spark plugs, and if I was to go to there, we'd be using no spark plugs and she'd probably stop. But the point is that she didn't stop when I did any of that stuff, so we know that we've got that working. Pre-taxi, avionics are on. We now turn the radio on. Now then, this machine has got problems with our radios. One of which is that horrible noise. At COM2. I've got two radios and I've got two frequencies set up, and I want the other one to be 13547. Same sort of frequencies, but probably not the same sort of radios as on boats. I don't know if you do the same thing. Basically, I've got that one is my standby frequency. This is the one we're listening to here. In fact, we're using COM2. So I just poke that and it changes. Yep. And that one, and I didn't hear that then, so your squelches. Say yep.
Yep.
That's good, I heard that one then. So I've got two radios there. I've got this, which is my transponder, and I bet there's a marine equivalent of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, we get that because you want to listen to channel 16, which is the Coast Guard safety channel. And you'll be talking to mariners or whatever.
That's it, yeah, so you pop around, exactly. Yeah. And so what you use that for navigation is you use this for your home base, and this is the next people you're going to speak to. And it might be Boscombe, it might be Blackpool, Bournemouth. Yeah. So when you're ready, you say QSY and you change. And this is the transponder. At the moment, it is on standby. And 7000 will be showing, when I switch it to on, 7000 is showing up on Bournemouth, on Solent, and on distress and diversion, and all of that sort of stuff. And 7000 means I am a little aeroplane flying around under visual flight rules. So if I wanted to fly across Bournemouth, I'd call Bournemouth up and they'd say squawk 6572. And I'd squawk 6572 and switch it back on again. And they would see 6572 pop up and they would know damn well it was me. If I didn't have that transponder and I called up wanting to go through Bournemouth, they'd say squawk 6572 and I'd say unable to comply. And they'd say in that case, turn right, heading so-and-so, so-and-so, and you turn right and head what they've told you, and they'd look at their map and they'd see one of their dots go that way, and they'd say, I've got you, you're now positively identified, and I can talk to you properly. It's all about identification. This is working. So, pre-taxi avionics mixture is leaned, fuel is set to the right tank, flap. We check the operation, we look out the window, we see it go down to the first stage, all the way down.
That's down to 40.
To the bottom, and I've got a gauge here which is reflecting that. Back up to the intermediate, back all the way up. Instruments, now that's a compass, nice floaty compass, and this is a this is a gyroscopic compass. So it doesn't know about that at the moment, so we tell it this, and then this will joggle around and this will remember, yeah? That makes sense?
Yep.
I've set that to halfway between north and that. This airfield is set about 800 feet above sea level. So this is going to be the sea level air pressure when we get round. So we are a high pressure day, we're on about 1026 or 7. And that's what they're going to tell me when I call them up. Let's see if I can go back to box 1. Good, got rid of the hiss. Right, so nobody's spoken on the radio for a while. Box 2 has this horrible hiss. But we will hear it. So when I'm going to call her up, I'm going to tell her what I'm up to, she's going to give me the pressure, and she's going to tell me which runway. Now I know all this, but I'm going to
Lee Radio, good afternoon. Golf Echo Delta Echo Lima for airfield information.
That's for falling second, please.
Compton Radio, good afternoon. Golf Echo Delta Echo Lima for airfield information.
Lima 08 left, QNH 1030.
Compton Radio, Golf Romeo by the new hangar, taxi for a local with 2 POB.
08 left, QNH 1030.
103008 left, Golf Romeo. So I've read it back, she's told me what runway. It's not a question of giving me any form of permission, she's not got any control over me at all. I do what I like, when I like. And we've got 2 ahead of us, and we're taking
Golf Echo Lima confirming 300.
I'll put some lights on. Taxi light on. Anti-collision strobes are all good. Right, so the blue one's going, the chippy won't be long after it. And of course we've got no power to the wheels, so the only way we're going to move it forwards, and I'm not going to bash into that van, am I?
Compton Radio, Golf Charlie Kilo, ready for departure?
I wouldn't like to call that.
No, nor would I at the moment. It'll feel better in a minute.
08080.
Phew! And as we're taxiing, the DI changes, the compass changes, and we'll do that again. The DI changes back, the compass changes back. And we'll get to a point where we want to check the brakes. Oh, I see India Victor's also turning its prop. Maybe in a queue.
Compton traffic, November Kilo's lining up behind Charlie Kilo for immediate departure.
Be that one.
What is EC20?
Right. We're getting close to wanting our harnesses fully tight, but we've done the taxi checks. Parking brake is on. Fuel, we go to both now. Oil temperature and temperatures and pressures is good. Mixture, we go to fully rich. Throttle, I wind this up to 1800. And then I make the propeller get coarser, such that it slows down, and when it does, the oil pressure changes. And the manifold pressure changes. And I do it again. And if I'm really observant, I might have noticed a temperature drop when the cold oil mixed with the warm oil. But I didn't. And now I take it all the way up to 21. and I switch one side off, the other side off, I pull that, I look at that, I look at that, I check the suction, and I pull back. Some of the gyroscopes in there are electric and some of them are air powered, so there's a suction pump. It is possible to learn to fly and to fly this on instruments, and so you need two independent systems for giving you enough information about your instruments, otherwise you're stuffed. Lose the electrics, and if they're all electric, you're going to crash. So that's that good, and now we
Compton radio, Golf Alpha Golf, Indy Victor, cross radio check 122.7.
Indy Victor 5.
Thank you.
Actually, I want to check the other box anyway.
At the holding point 08, ready for departure.
In the zone to the south and staying on frequency.
So now I do pre-takeoff, which is trims. I want 10 degrees of flap set. I see 10 degrees, I look out the window, I've got 10 degrees. I go to fully rich, I go to fully fine, I apply that, I put the engine heat knob in, I do the mags and make sure they're on both. I check the fuel,
EC20.
and I turn the boost pump on. Alternator is on.
What's the boost pump doing?
It's another way of getting fuel in, so you've got two independent systems. You've got the normal mechanical point and the electric pump as well. T's and P's are all greens. Lights, taxi, off, landing on. Pitot head not required. Instruments de-sync because we've been changing
Indy Victor is ready for departure after Indy Lima.
Transponder goes to altitude. One more full and free. Canopy is locked. Harnesses all tight, properly tight. If we're going to need these straps, it's in the next 5 minutes.
Okay, Indy Victor lining up.
You comfortable and happy?
Yep.
Right, if there is an engine failure during the takeoff run and sufficient runway remains, I will close the throttle and keep it on the runway. I'd prefer to go through the hedge with half a ton of metal in front of me than to try and crash. If it's too late for that, I will look for a field in an arc of that much and I will put it onto a field. During me putting it onto the field, I'd be very grateful if you had the presence of mind to get rid of the canopy for us. If we do have to put it on a field, it's very likely we'll be upside down.
Right.
And if the canopy's gone, that's not a problem.
When you say get rid of the canopy, do you mean that one?
I mean that. I was pointing at that, I meant that, I'm sorry. If we haven't got rid of the canopy, in here there is this, with which, if you're determined enough, you will be able to break the glass, and with which you could also cut your way out of the straps if you had to, and cut me out of the straps if you've got time, but you worry about yourself first, okay? There's also a fire extinguisher in the back. That's my pre-takeoff brief. If you're all comfortable, I shall tell him we're ready to go.
Yep. 5.
Golf Echo Lima is at holding point 08, ready for departure.
EC18.
And Golf Romeo Romeo is ready for departure in turn following Echo Lima.
EC18.
Didn't hear what she said.
Golf Echo Lima lining up 08.
Right, we'll swing around. Now I'm going to be very sensitive to how my nose wheel feels during the takeoff, and if I don't like it, I shall stop, okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
And if it's all relaxed, we'll go flying. Oh, come on, matey.
Echo Lima rolling 08.
Right. I've probably explained on the video about the circuit.
Yep.
We turn left all the way around here. There's one out there, but he's flying away from us. The point is, there's nobody coming down to land on it. And we'll swing round, and I'm going to keep the motion going. Make sure Echo Lima's gone. I was a bit previous, I want to make sure he's really gone. That'll be okay, I can keep him in sight. Right. Full power. Feels lovely, feels proper. I've got full power, the T's and P's are good, the airspeed's alive, the nose wheel's already off the ground. And we're flying. And she felt lovely. Good. Good. I'm enjoying myself now. So I've still got all of this. Our squelches need adjusting because of the noise. I've done yours. Lost Echo Lima. So I'm climbing straight ahead. I'm nearly 300 feet above the ground and I've got climb going. So I put the flaps away, bracing myself in case only one goes. And they're all right, they've gone. And now I can come back on the throttle a bit and it'll make less noise. There's the airfield. And we're turning left and left and left. We're still technically in the circuit because we are below 1,000 feet. And I dip the nose, make sure there's nobody in front of me. So we're now heading west, or west and a little bit south, and that's Shaftesbury. I've got 1,000 feet above the ground. I can have the boost pump off. So she's still climbing. I've got no hands on it at the moment. Climbing at about... She's trimmed at the moment for about 90. Yeah, she's neither bothered nor flustered. 90 knots. And so to prove what I was saying about it, if I push the stick forwards a bit, so she'll start getting faster, we'll lose the climb. If I then let go, again, the nose immediately pitches up because she's set up to be flying at 90. And then she'll get into what's called a phugoid, gradually settle down. Because it's inherently stable. The training aircraft is inherently stable without needing any electrics. So what would happen if I just left it, each oscillation would be less and less until she'd calm down, yeah?
So you're totally happy with your nose wheel now?
Totally happy. That felt lovely during that takeoff.
Compton Abbasolo, Golf Charlie Bravo Zulu Romeo.
That Portland straight ahead?
That's Portland straight ahead. I was thinking we might go down and actually have a look at Portland and come back.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep. That way we get to see a bit of sea stuff and we get to look in the harbour.
Bravo Zulu Romeo, PA28 Arrow. Currently 12 miles to your east and inbound to land. We'd like a downwind join if you're quiet, but no problem if not. 1 POB.
Right, so in flying, altitude is safety. And this is above sea level. And we know that some of this ground is about 500 feet.
Okay, we'll
so when I get to 1,000 feet...
99908 left hand, Golf Zulu Romeo.
When I get to 1,000 feet, I'm going to be fairly relaxed about...
Cyril information, Golf
won't want to climb anymore.
Good afternoon.
Now we also get to hear Sywell information. Sywell's up in Northamptonshire, but they share a frequency.
So what altitude are you now?
I'm 3,100 feet above sea.
05 right hand, and the QFE is 1014, Golf Lima.
And I'm still climbing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play with these settings. So...
Prima Alpha, CTSW from private airstrip near Willingham.
So this is quite advanced, but I'll mention it. So if you notice, I've got both numbers on 25 at the moment.
1029 QNH, Golf Lima Alpha.
And I'm consuming quite a lot of fuel.
2 PLB.
I want to consume less fuel.
2 PLB, Golf Lima Alpha.
So what I do is I pull the power back first, because you don't want to push too much power through the propeller. You never want that number to be bigger than that number. So I pull that back to about 22. Then I'll slow the propeller back to about 22. You heard the revs drop.
Yeah.
And then I will lean it, which is actually adjusting the carburettor. And I'll lean it quite hard till this drops below 2.
In
fact, it almost stopped. Did you hear? If I pull it back a bit further, it gets a bit rough.
Golf Tango Lima Hotels at PA 28.
I've now got a nice mean mixture, and I've slowed down.
Feet on the QNH of 10.
But the airplane is still trimmed for that speed she was trimmed at, so she should wind up in a bit of a descent.
Passing over your 80Z.
I think today, Steve,
I want to say
we just...
Okay, fair enough. You get air out of that one.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
When we're lucky enough to come again, maybe we might be a bit more adventurous. Let's let me get used to the...
No, that's quite fine.
Runway 5, right hand, 1029.
Having now got it sorted out,
Golf Lima Hotel.
another way of making people feel more comfortable is to let them have a go on the stick. I'll take that.
Right.
So, we are visual pilots, we look out of the window, so we can tell at the moment we're neither going up nor down, and we can see that much horizon. So all you've got to remember is how much bonnet and how much horizon. That's the picture you want to see. We'll decide whether you're going up or down, and then looking out whether the wings are level or not. Okay? We ought to be able to fly without looking at the instruments at all.
QFA 1014.
And we're aiming for Portland.
29.
And so I think it's all on the video, but when you turn, the wings are now pointing in that direction and you're pulling into a circle, so you're using some of your lift to turn, so the nose drops. You can feel it drop, and you cure that by pulling forwards and backwards. So when you pull back, there's quite a lot of nose and there's quite a lot of, there's a bit of a climb. When you push forwards, there's quite a lot more land and we're in a slight descent. That's it. That's the way to go. And that's it. And then if you've just got your feet resting on the rudder.
0 to left hand.
Yeah?
QFE 10.
The rudder isn't hugely important. I'm just going to wiggle it. Okay, I've just trod left.
It's 3.5
I've trod right.
To the northeast. Just confirm traffic situation.
I'll stop doing that now.
We're ground radio and music.
And that's that. That's how you fly an aeroplane. You keep it straight and level.
We'll join downwind then, Golf, don't we?
And choose for your left and right.
Bravo Alpha, Mike uniform.
Keep concentrating.
Well,
Uniform inbound from Boston, approaching Kettering.
I went with a friend 20 years ago in a bit bigger than this. I think it was a Cessna, Jersey.
Right.
2-3 left.
And the whole aspect of it, I couldn't. We went up, and from mid-channel you can see both France and England.
Yeah.
To me, you lose sight of England, and 8 hours later you're hoping you'll see France. And then you can see both shipping lanes. And I thought, oh Christ, we see one shipping lane, and 2 hours later we're looking out for the next shipping lane.
Yeah. And when you're looking down, it just looks like a motorway over the channel.
Yeah. I found that very strange. When we come back on commercial flights, and they start, you're still over the Cherbourg Peninsula.
Yeah.
They're starting to make their descent towards Southampton, I think.
I know. It's amazing.
My mode of transport is 10 hours away.
Absolutely. And it's the same. I did a flight shortly as I started learning. I did a flight to Paris from quite south, and it was climb, descend. There was almost no cruise in the middle, So in terms of navigation, Blanford's over my shoulder. If you dip the nose slightly, in fact no, you can see there's Dorchester's the mess that's coming up, and
that's Dorchester.
And one of the ways of telling Dorchester is all the new buildings in Poundbury over towards the west of Dorchester, and you can see there's a little excrescence, I'm not terribly rude about Poundbury. I think Poundbury will be all right later on.
I mean, I'm just judging everything by the coastline because that's what I know.
That's it. Yep. And you can see Chesil going all the way along, and Portland. And down here, about 3 o'clock, is the dual carriageway into Dorchester.
Right. The Wool somewhere down there.
Yep. Well, you can see all the shapes. You can see the shapes of the Poole Harbour and things.
Yeah.
And I think that's Lulworth Cove. There's a little nick out of the...
yeah, looks like it.
I think that's Lulworth Cove. Certainly Lulworth Ranges is back of that. And so that's Weymouth Harbour, Weymouth Beach. And cylinder head temperature is good, and oil pressure is good. Oil pressure is good, oil temperature is good. Fuel is still good.
How far round Lime Bay can we see?
I can see right out to the tip. I think that's, I mean, Lyme Regis is tucked in there, and Sidmouth, and it's called Lyme Bay because Lyme's in the middle of it. And then you can pick your way on. It's not Salcombe and Exeter, but there's land going out to there, isn't there?
South Station, Golf Tango uniform, airfield in sight, currently overhead. Left hand downwind, runway 03, Golf Tango uniform.
Yeah, that might not be land. That might be a shadow of cloud on the sea. I can never remember. Because there's an airfield right down at Bolt Head, which you'll probably know from near Salcombe.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But we can't see that far, I don't think, today.
End of the line of aircraft, please.
We walked all around Bolt Head last August.
Oh, did you? Did you actually see the airfield? Up on the top, right on the top. Bleak place, but it's quite pretty. And now what we can do is, if I tell you I want you to put us into a, look, this is the radio problem, and the fix for the radio is to turn it off and back on again. If you push the nose down a bit, so we can see quite a lot, because we've got quite a lot of, we've got nearly 4,000 feet to play with. So we'll keep that in a descent. And you can feel her getting faster, and you can feel her pushing you back now, can't you? Keep it pushed forwards. Because I want to go a bit lower for Portland. So we'll lose the height, and we'll trade it for speed. But as you push, you're having to push harder, yes?
Yeah.
So now put your hand on that wheel, and push the wheel forwards or backwards, and you'll feel the pressure come out.
Oh yeah.
And basically, you've adjusted it so that she's happier flying at 110 rather than 90. And we'll keep this descent going. Because my favourite trick is low level around the lighthouse. It's lovely. We're allowed, there's a 500-foot rule. Not allowed within 500 feet of any person, structure, animal, thing, or something like that. But over the sea, you can see where all the persons, structures and things are, so we're allowed below 500 feet. And, alright, you've got slightly fewer options if the engine stops. So I'll tell you what, there's Maiden Castle.
All right.
So why not fly us in a nice gentle loop, all the way, a nice gentle orbit all the way around Maiden Castle, without losing too much height. Go back to, I'll pull that back in. Going back to not losing height, but just going round in a circle. See if you can turn us all the way around. Nice, steady. You can cheat with that. You don't go any steeper than that, and that's a nice gentle circuit sort of turn. It means we can get to see Dorchester better. And you see, the way you turn is you put the turn in and then you kind of leave it there. You don't need to keep it inclined. And the steeper you turn it, the more the nose will dip. And to cure it, the more you'll have to pull back slightly. That's all good. That's fine. We do it all on the bonnet. Watch what the bonnet's doing. When you can see quite a lot, you might be in a bit of a descent, and then you confirm it. But there's the shape of Poundbury. You can see how far he's going to go out with Poundbury, basically all the way out to the bypass. And the prism's not so noticeable now. They used to have some scaffolding. And keep the turn going. It's flattened out. There's the dual carriageway coming into Dorchester. See how good it is for a town to have a nice early bypass. You get a nice early bypass, it stops the development. You can really see the shape of the road, can't you?
Yeah, there's a definite boundary. That's the line, that's it.
More turn, let's keep going around. We're going around to Portland. We've got 3,500 feet, that's all fine. So you can see the road that they've recently improved down to, last couple of years, last 3 or 4 years.
For the Olympics.
Yeah, for the Olympics, yep. Down into Weymouth, to the beach and the waves. I don't know what state of the tide is. Reasonable way out, I think, if you can see that much.
It looks quite low with that amount of...
And then if we aim for the... There's an inner harbour, isn't there, inside the wall. If we aim for the tip of the inner harbour and aim to lose some height, so we've got quite a lot of bonnet in view as we're doing it, I'm quite happy to get down to, say, 1,500 feet over Weymouth. And then below about there, I'll take it. But it means that if you want to, because I wound off some of your trim, so if you're having to push, just play with the trim. You fly one hand on the stick and the other hand on the trim. And if you want to, push it too far and you'll realise you've got to then start pulling to maintain the speed. When we're actually under training, one of the things the instructor says, let go of the stick, prove to me that you've got it properly trimmed out, and you just let go of it all. And it neither goes up nor down, and he approves.
Golf Lima Hotel, request frequency change 134.175.
That's good. That's good, that's good. And one thing I keep forgetting to do is to periodically reset the DI to the compass. So we're down to 3,000 feet. We've still got quite a lot of height to lose. I often have to persuade my customers that people who are afraid of heights don't have a problem in little aeroplanes, provided you're above a certain height. And it's only about 500 feet. Once you're above 500 feet, our monkey brain doesn't recognise that we're up. It's when you actually recognise that you're high that you get anxious. Keep descending, please. That's it. Feel entirely free. And you can do no harm. If you overcook it, you just pull it backwards, and if you don't want to, you just say, Steve, you have control. Bit of a pothole there. This will be because of the roofs over Weymouth. You get little smaller thermals that come off white roofs and black areas. Right, I'd like control, please. I'm going to... Basically, I've trimmed for about 120 knots now. So we've got a stonking descent on. And we're doing 120 knots, so it's about 130 miles an hour. And because we're going faster, the air pressure inside the cockpit has gone up a bit. So the squelches need adjusting. There's nothing, there's one grey one. Oh, there are two grey ones in there. And I think the search and rescue helicopter's down there as well, isn't it?
Okay, Alpha Delta, changing frequency to ground on 122.
Say hello. Hello. Your microphone's not.
The search and rescue, I don't know if...
Get it a bit closer to your lips.
We have a friend who's missing.
Well, recently?
Through Yacht Club. And there's a report he's been missing since Saturday morning.
Oh dear.
He's 67. And there were reports that he's in the Weymouth area. They've had helicopters. So if there's a search helicopter out, I gather this is where they're concentrating today.
Right. So I know that this was set to the sea pressure.
Right.
QNH.
So what are you going down to?
I'm going to go down to about 300 feet. Just because I like it.
I've never seen this side of Portland.
No.
Never seen the cliffs from this side. You see it from that side.
Yeah.
But if you go
but
around,
you're normally clipping over there, yeah.
Line Bay.
I like a bit of low level, mate. So I better stop this descent now. Oh, and of course the wind's from the east.
Yep.
So it's coming over those cliffs and making it a bit choppier. It'll be calmer in a minute and I'll go back up again. Are you feeling uneasy because of your tummy or just because of the sensation? Okay.
Tummy's fine.
Okay.
I'm not about to throw up everywhere.
And if you did, there is a bag in there. Yes, that we're getting chop over there.
I'd be quite interested to know what the tide's doing.
I don't know how you can tell. I mean, I never know where, you know, I'm not familiar with any of these beaches. So, for example,
when you've got Portland Race out there in the inside passage, or a couple of miles out before you get... It all looks fairly...
But you can see the different areas. Oh, because there are actually some quite submerged rocks as well. It's not just the cut tides, is it? There are some shallow bits. You can see different colours in the water as well, or better than when you're on a boat.
I just stay about...
Not hearing you. It's gone from your lips.
You either stay 4 or 5 miles off,
yep,
or you come right in here within about a quarter of a mile of the land.
Right.
Really close. They always say you go in as close as you dare, then a bit more.
Right. Because you see, I can see a brownish patch and then a darker patch. And I never know if that's because I'm seeing through the water or whether there's actually discoloration in the water itself.
It can be either. Very often it's just silt being churned up.
Yeah. I believe the tide is a reasonable long way up.
Going west or east.